Okay. Is it okay if I just explain what we've been doing and then get some feedback from you? So the group was addressing the issue of regulatory authorities need to design a fit-for-purpose regulatory framework, etc. So what they've asked me to do is to work that up into a project proposal, which I will be doing, but it will be within the context of the existing work that I have, which is on innovation theory, which is on global governance. So the question about regulatory authorities fits within that. So you've got issues about regulatory authorities in different countries, how they relate one to the other. Do they have a certain model? Do they follow each other? Do they spin off each other? What's the transnational influence in that arena? Do they compete with one another? Do they have different styles? Do they position themselves globally in terms of their approach to innovation, etc.? So, and how do they mesh into the commercialisation process as a whole? So I can handle that. So I'm going to go away and think about it. I'm also going to talk to other constituencies who are interested in the same field, with whom a dialogue is already established, and that includes medical scientists at King's in regenerative medicine area, who I'm already talking to. They are collaborating with Chinese scientists in the area, so we're going to look at comparisons between the two countries in regulatory modes. I'm going to be talking to one other research centre at York, who's also in this field, who wants to develop a collaborative project. So again, it's going to be putting this particular idea into that context and then working out a proposal which I'll check out with Eve in terms of complexity theory dimension to it, and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay.
Great, thank you very much. And I think the main thing is to keep both the group informed of what is happening and the two groups, so that we both know what the other is doing. That will be absolutely great. So who would like to tell us a little from your thinking?
Well, I suppose but anyway, we'll see if because we haven't sorted this out at all. We had a very interesting, wide-ranging discussion of many things. On the sort of sorting out what a regulator ought to be seeking to do, one of the things that we could engage in is a study of the different types of the different regulators that exist, because regulators were set up in many different fields with equally vague instructions as far as I can tell. They did different things, and some undoubtedly are considered to work better than others. We certainly can see where they helped or stopped innovation and all that sort of thing. So there may be lessons to be learned from the regulators that one can study. We then did get into some very interesting issues about biotech and medicine, because of course the difference between food and medicine and supplements, let's say, and so is it's probably impossible to define. I don't know. So that what is the regulator? What is the range? What is the boundary of the regulators, if we're imagining that, sphere of operation and responsibilities? Because obviously food is a pretty important issue, and supplements and, beer with no chemicals in or things like that are significant issues, So probiotics were mentioned as a discussion there. So there's expertise in that field and so on. So it may not be a medicine, but it's considered a risk reducer or something like that. So there is an official phrase even for things you take which may reduce the probability of various illnesses. So that's quite an interesting point. I thought that probably we should look down Joyce's ideas about managing evolution. I think that running through, taking these examples and thinking through what you've suggested, because you've obviously thought about this a lot. And then we sort of having had one problem with a boundary, which was, environment, packaging, where do you stop? A big problem. At the other end, the industry, in a way, the real problem is that with current regulatory framework, which is not necessarily the cause, but might be helpful, has made big companies, big pharma, has made that happen and has made it very, very difficult, really, for innovation to flourish, because basically they can't do it. And therefore, we then started to think about the project from a different end. Is what kind of regulatory framework can you have that would not stifle, that would not allow that consolidation to take place, that would encourage networks and connections and such things. And we thought the big pharma might be interested even in looking at that and playing a role playing a role. They pretend they do already, but they might really do. What should they be doing to help bring together the knowledge that exists in all these small companies and so on, and might, in a way, through a kind of supply chain or supply network kind of system, generate new products for smaller markets and things like that, for more specific things and so on, which does come back to some of Joyce's ideas as well. But anyway, so that was really what so there's a double thing. There's what should the regulator do and what should the boundary be, and that's really a pretty big issue. And then how might it affect the structures that would evolve underneath that, and so on. Going for money, well, we mentioned TSB, and we have no idea. They've done so many things that God knows whether they've done this already or we missed it or whatever. Obviously, there is EPSRC, ESRC possible. There's a real social issue, certainly, as well as a sort of in a way, it's more ESRC than EPSRC because it's really a social.
Okay, let me make a suggestion to everyone, because we've done this before, which is it's worth talking to the research councils and see if, because if it crosses their boundaries, you can persuade them to co-fund. And they are now becoming more and more interested in co-funding, but it does need work. And I've done that with a couple of projects, and so they are interested. So it's worth getting in touch with the right person of each council, saying, does this fall under your area of interest? Would you be prepared to co-fund with X, Y, and Z? And see what happens. But so if it crosses the boundaries, you don't have to make the decision. You can take it to 2 or even 3.
Well, I think the medical. It's possible.
And the medical research
MRC
the MRC.
and ESRC.
Yeah.
But it just depends. They may have aversions to funding sort of non-medical people. Anyway, so
yeah.
Can I just say that the talk I gave today. And what one does about the problem is a major part of Inogen's research programme funded through to 2012. The problem we have is that there's so much more to do than we can do within our current funding.
Oh, right.
And it would be really great to be able to be part of another bid that was going to help take this forward. Partly because if we apply to ESRC for money, they say, oh, come on, we've just given you £5 million. Surely that's enough, So you have this problem. But I think someone else leading a bid that involved us and brought in what we're going to be doing on this would be very helpful.
And don't forget the European Commission.
Well, there's always hope there.
Yeah.
Did anybody else want to say
Yes, European
anything?
Science Foundation would be,
Is that okay? We okay? Okay, so... Right.
So I take it, are you the leader at the moment?
I am.
Right. So I'll just ask you, please, to send Brian and myself details of your group, the ideas you've discussed, so that we can exchange it with others. Whether you're open to have anyone else join you and so on. Great. Okay. So there you are, you've got a volunteer already. So, is there anything else? If there isn't, oh, I don't need this as well. I would like to first of all thank Brian, because he really helped to bring all these wonderful speakers together, and Vikas, because he has done a brilliant job in and Jack. Thank you, Jack. Thank you very much indeed. But most of all, I'd like to thank our speakers and you, the participants. I think it is essential, because you have all, taken such an active role in this discussion, and I would like to thank you very, very much indeed. So thank you all, and I really look forward to working with you, and I sincerely hope that one or more projects come out of this, because it really would be wonderful to do that. It's such a rich area in bringing complexity and new health technologies together, that it will be fantastic to do it. So thank you very much indeed, and I hope to see you at our other seminars. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Such a good lady.
Thank you.